wanted to ask you a backward question because I normally ask
Okay.
in the beginning. So what made you want to do this area? Like, why this area? I mean, you.
It was a total accident. I'm
Okay.
not kidding. It was a total accident. So I graduated from law school. The market had crashed. There's like no jobs anywhere. And I was doing document review in DC. And a friend of mine from law school calls me up and she says, "Hey, I'm going on maternity leave and I need somebody to do real estate closings for me." And I was like, "I don't even know what you're saying to me. I don't have no idea what you're talking about." So in Virginia, which is where I was living before California, real estate closings, escrow here goes through most of the time goes through a law firm. There's an attorney that's involved in the process. So that's what I was doing. Essentially escrow in Virginia. So, reviewing the contracts, ordering payoffs, working up, the packages, and then sitting at the table and going through a closing package with a buyer or a seller. I mean, there's a really compressed process on what I was doing. And I freaking loved it. I loved it. I loved working with the buyers, helping them understand like what the heck's going on, because most of them were like doe-eyed and their eyes are bugging out of their head because so much is happening. And they're like, "I don't know what's going on." And then working with the sellers who are just glad to be out of this property and like going on to their next adventure, working with the real estate agents on trying to figure out like, "Oh my God, this thing came up. What do we do?" That was a fun part. And then dealing with title issues, in the early 2000s, between the early 2000s and like the burst, banks were pretty sloppy when it came to recording lien releases. So there's a good decade of property that have unreleased liens. And it goes back into the 90s too, but it's really bad between like 2000 and 2006, where lien releases are just not recorded because they were probably sent to the borrower who didn't know what this was and didn't know what to do with it. So they just either threw it in a drawer or threw it in the trash. So I know, and you're like, "Oh my God." But yeah, that's what happened for a good part of, the early 2000s. I loved cleaning up that mess. I loved it, like tracking down the lenders, getting those lien releases. So that sort of set up the like, "Oh, I really like real estate." I cried through real estate in law school. That was my first class. It was the first book I opened. And I remember calling my dad like 2 nights before school started, because I got my first reading assignment. And I was like, "I don't know if I'm in the right place. I think I made a mistake. I can't even understand the words that are in this book. He's like, "Suck it up, figure it out." Right. But like, that was my first experience with real estate, was like, I was crying about it because I didn't understand like this old English case about a fox and a fence.
Oh my
I
God.
didn't get it.
They're still teaching that? That's crazy.
Oh, they are still teaching that. Yeah.
So are you licensed in Virginia still, or are
I'm
you?
licensed. Yeah. I'm licensed in Virginia, DC, and California.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. I had no idea. I learned just something new about you today. Uh,
Yeah.
I totally was going to ask you a question. I completely blanked now.
Yeah. So that's how I got into real estate. And I was doing some real estate litigation and then doing some other litigation stuff in Virginia. And then I came to California and I was hesitant about taking the California bar. I was practicing long enough that I could take the attorney exam, which is, the shortened version of the California bar. But, you know, fear took over and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that. Not doing it." And then an opportunity came up and I decided to do it. But in the meantime, I was working for an escrow company here in San Diego and I loved it. Like, I loved it. I was in my element, got to stay in real estate, got to fix the stuff. But what I realized when I was working there was like, where are all the attorneys? My first day on the job, because my boss knew that I owned a title company and I ran escrow basically through my firm in Virginia. And she's like, "Okay, review this preliminary title report and then send it over to this person. She's going to do the deed." And I looked at her and I said, "What do you mean she's going to do the deed? She's an attorney?" She goes, "No." And I said, "What do you mean? Why is she preparing the deed?" She goes, "Well, that's just what we do." I was like, "Time out. Attorneys are not preparing deeds?" And she said, "No, that's how we do it here." And I was like, my mind was blown, just absolutely blown. And then fielding the questions from buyers and sellers as they're calling escrow, because escrow is the only one that answers their phone, about their transaction. And I was just like, I need to know more attorneys that I can send these people to.
Right.
because as in escrow, and I wasn't licensed at the time, I can't answer their questions. And I was like, who else are you asking these questions to? If you're calling me, the escrow officer, hoping that I can give you a legal answer, I was like, there's something missing in this process.